After Sheikh Mujib's assassination was done, Major Farooq took his tanks to Rakhi Bahini's headquarters to confront the acting commanding officer. As I said in the last video, that commanding officer of Rakhi Bahini was out of country during that time, and there was an acting commanding officer. Farooq took around 10 of his tanks and he went to confront the acting CEO of Rakhi Bahini. So, in the words of Farooq, the man was shaking in his boots. Seeing the tanks all lined up, he thought, I had come to get him. But Farooq informed him that the Rakhi Bahini has been merged with the army and there would be no more Rakhi Bahini and they would be receiving direct orders from the army. After the successful operation against Sheikh Mujib, or the then government of Sheikh Mujib, and the assassination of him, including his family, now is planned. They were supposed to install Khankar Mushtaq Ahmad as president. But according to Major Rashid, he said that the success of their operation, it tempted them to get into power instead of installing Khankar Mushtaq Ahmad. So at that moment, they were trying to analyze the situation and try to understand whether they can really get involved in the government directly or not. And then he was also saying that he was confident that since people were not shedding tears on the death of Sheikh Mujib, and there were kind of celebrations in the city, and people were not really worried about that. But his only concern was that how would people react when they would come to know that it's not only Sheikh Mujib but his entire family has been massacred. Then the reaction of people can be different. Meanwhile, Major Shariful Haq Dalim, the retired army officer, since he was also involved in that and he was part of that plan, when everything was done, so Shariful Haq Dalim, without consulting Farooq or Rashid, he directly rushed into the radio station and there he made an announcement. The announcement was that Sheikh Mujib has been killed and army has seized power under Khankar Mushtaq Ahmad. And Dalim also said that the martial law has been imposed and from now on the official name of the country would be Islamic Republic of Bangladesh. Rashid said that Dalim and some other retired officers, they fought over the microphone in the radio station, that everyone was trying to bring him further for the announcement. Each one of them was interested to make the announcement on this occasion. And then in the end, it was Major Dalim who grabbed the microphone and made this announcement. Okay, now everything is done. Sheikh Mujib has been eliminated. In fact, his entire family is massacred. And they have also made announcement, and everyone by now know that what had happened. And there is kind of martial law in the country, and army has taken the charge, and Mushtaq is going to be the president of the country. The majors, they went to Mushtaq's house. Okay, I would quote the words here. Looking through the top floor balcony, Mushtaq was shaken to find the venomous mouth of the tanks. Now the funny part is that Major Farooq and Abdul Rashid, they were taking their tanks everywhere, and they took their tanks to Mushtaq's house as well. So he got kind of frightened and scared to see the tanks coming towards his direction or towards his house. Moments later, Rashid, who was carrying a stand gun, ran up to the stair followed by two armed soldiers. Now Major Abdul Rashid, he came to the residence of Khankar Mushtaq Ahmad, and there were few other soldiers with him. They were carrying the guns. It made Mushtaq Ahmad quite scared because he was not ready to trust anyone at that time. Though the majors, now the point to be noted is that majors have informed him about everything, the plan, and they involved him in the plan, and they told him that they will eliminate Sheikh Mujib and he would be replaced with Sheikh Mujib. But since he was still a politician and he was never ready to trust anyone, especially the army officers, so he was kind of alarmed. I would quote the lines written by Anthony Mascarenhas that Mushtaq was too much a politician to fully trust another man, especially when he was a military officer, in frightful circumstances such as these. Later in 1975, when Mushtaq Ahmed gave an interview to Anthony Mascarenhas, at that time he shared the story that when Major Abdul Rashid and some other officers came to receive him, and Mushtaq said that he did not know that whether they came there to kill me or to take me to make me the president. They were looking very disturbed and they had guns in their hands. I kept looking at their hands to see what they were going to do. When I saw that instead of pointing their guns at me, one or two of them were saluting, I felt relieved. So I took courage and asked, "What brings you here?" Then Rashid told Mushtaq that they want him to take charge as the president. Well, it was all well planned already, and there was no point of asking this question, but that's what Mushtaq said in his interview. Even after knowing that he is going to be the president, he was still hesitant and he said he did not fully trust Rashid and decided to test him. So he was trying to test Rashid. Again, he asked him few questions. He asked Abdul Rashid, how are we going to go to the president house? Are you guys going to take me in your jeep, in the army jeep, or I can drive my car? I can go in my car. So on that, Abdul Rashid said, if your driver can be trusted, you can come in your car. So in this way, he got more confidence and he felt relieved. On the way to radio station, Mushtaq noticed that people are quite much normal outside on the streets, and there is no disruption, there is no protest, or there is no such thing due to the killing of Sheikh Mujib. People appear to be shocked, he said, but as we went along, I could see some of them cheering. Mushtaq said that he saw people cheering outside, so he understood that okay, everything seems quite okay, and he doesn't need to worry about much things. They took Khankar Mushtaq Ahmed to the radio station for announcement and for taking oath. Both the majors were there. But since this all plan was made by the junior officers, mainly Major Farooq and Major Abdul Rashid, Mushtaq was not sure that whether the service chiefs, the chief of army staff, the chief of navy, the chief of air force, they would also be okay with this change or not. So Mushtaq suggested to Major Abdul Rashid that what if you bring all service chiefs here in this ceremony? It would be a better thing. Major Abdul Rashid agreed with it. He also found this idea quite good, and then he left Mushtaq there and he went to the cantonment. In the cantonment, he met Brigadier Khalid Musharraf, who would later be involved in another counter coup, but we will talk about it later on. So he met Brigadier Khalid Musharraf there and few other officers, and then Brigadier Khalid Musharraf arranged his meeting with Chief of Army Staff, General Shafiullah, and there are few other names: Major General Shafiullah, Air Vice Marshal Khankar, and Commodore M.H. Khan, and Major General Ziaur Rahman, the Deputy Chief of Army Staff at that time. Very interesting part in this entire story is that the people who are managing and planning and taking action are the ordinary officers. They are just the majors, and they are plotting everything, and they are calling generals for a meeting, and then they are giving briefing to the generals and the service chiefs. Major Abdul Rashid, he briefed all the service chiefs about whatever they have done and asked for their cooperation. Major Abdul Rashid, he added that we have done this in the greater interest of the country, and we don't want power, and we don't disown you. Instead, we want your leadership. So in a way, he took those service chiefs in confidence that we are not disowning you, we still want to work under you, we want your leadership, so please get together under the civilian president, which is Mushtaq Ahmed. Major Abdul Rashid requested them to come into the radio station along with Khankar Mushtaq Ahmed, where he will announce that he is the president and where he will take the oath. Later in an interview, Major Farooq said, once they knew Mujib was dead, the military brass quickly fell into line. At that stage, no one dared to take on the majors. Now, once all the generals or the military leadership, they all came into the radio station and Mushtaq was there. According to this author, Mushtaq was really a clever person. Instead, giving this message that he is involved or he is the mastermind of this massacre, when all the generals were there, Mushtaq shouted at General Shafiullah and asked him, have you done it? Have you done it means that have you planned or plotted the massacre of Sheikh Mujib? Now Shafiullah was in a very awkward position. In front of him was Farooq and Rashid, who were the mastermind of this plan. He cannot say no and he cannot say yes either. He was not involved in it, but then he cannot say no. So instead he said, yes, we did it. Mushtaq did the same thing to other generals and every one of them said, yes, we did it. Although they didn't know about it. It was all mentioned by Mushtaq by himself, and he said that since I am a lawyer, I know how to trap a man. And then Mushtaq asked them, okay, now what do you want me to do? What would be their answer? They all said, oh, okay, we want you to lead us. We want your leadership. And then please take oath as the president. And that was the time when Mushtaq said, okay, I will take charge. I will take oath as the president, but I have a condition that I would not allow any military involvement in the politics of the country. In one of Mushtaq's interview with the author, he said that I told all the service chiefs that I don't want military's involvement in the civilian government because it is against the democratic soul of the country. He said that I am a civilian and a democrat and I would not like any military involvement. So the author is writing that he did not want to embarrass Mushtaq by asking him, I would quote the words, by asking that by what mental gymnastic he was conferring the dignity of democratic government on a regime brought to power by assassination. Like on one side, you were involved, Mushtaq was involved in the massacre and in the murder of a democratic leader. And on the other side, he is saying that I am a democrat and I would not like any military involvement. Now after settling everything with the service chiefs, Mushtaq came to announce he was ready to talk to the people on the radio, and his first broadcast is the president. He described the killing and the coup as a historical necessity. He said everyone wanted to change the administrative system, but since it was not possible through available means, the armed forces had come forward to change the government. They have opened the golden gates of opportunity before the people. Mushtaq also said that he will not compromise with any type of corruption, nepotism, or social vices. But he was lying in his teeth. Another paragraph that I would like to read is, no tears were shed for Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Maulana Bhashani, who had a few months earlier pled total support for Sheikh Mujib's second revolution, quickly issued a statement welcoming the historic change and offering full support to Khankar Mushtaq's government. Sheikh Mujib's body was taken away to his village where he was buried. Other family members, they were buried in the Binani graveyard, and I visited it last time. and they are all the graves are in one line except the Sheikh Mujib's. After a few hours of installing of Khankar Mushtaq Ahmad, Major Farooq and Major Abdur Rashid, they returned to cantonment, but service chiefs were not interested to take them or allow them in their units because they were directly involved in the operation against Sheikh Mujib. So there can be chances of confrontation within the units, and this problem was solved by Khankar Mushtaq Ahmad immediately because he requested both the majors for his own security, and he asked them to stay in President House. So now, from now on, to both the majors, they started living in the President House, and they were responsible for the security of the President Khankar Mushtaq Ahmad. But they were still the serving officers. They were not retired, but they were just posted there. Although Khankar Mushtaq Ahmad was appointed with the assistance of army officers, when it comes to the appointment of new army chief, Farooq and Rashid, they wanted General Ziaur Rahman to be appointed as chief of army staff, while Khankar Mushtaq Ahmad, he doesn't like General Ziaur Rahman because of few reasons. One of the main reasons was that General Ziaur Rahman was quite much popular among the troops, and which can be something which can go in against Khankar Mushtaq Ahmad in future, because if army is united under a commander, then it's a bigger threat to the civilian government. And by that time, since Bangladesh was not facing any external threat, so their focus was only on the internal matters, and Khankar Mushtaq Ahmad was concerned that what if in future General Ziaur Rahman takes action against him. But anyway, he had no choice but to listen to the majors, and then he appointed General Ziaur Rahman as the chief of army staff. On 26th of September, the same year, a very strange thing happened. President Mushtaq Ahmad indemnified Mujib's killers against punishment. It was named as Indemnity Ordinance 1975, issued on the authority of the President of Bangladesh. In those circumstances, no one expected Mushtaq Ahmad to prosecute Sheikh Mujib's killers, but formally pardon them is entirely a different thing. No one was expecting this, even the majors themselves. Here is one paragraph that I must read. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, by his free-willing ways, broke the sequence of crime and punishment in Bangladesh, and for betraying the people, brought down upon himself and the country a terrible legacy of blood. Khankar Mushtaq Ahmad, during the brief 83 days of his power, formally cemented the break and multiplied the legacy many times over. During this operation, and after the installment of Khankar Mushtaq Ahmad as the president, there were 4 leaders of Awami League. They were also put in jail. I would read their names: Tajuddin, Sayyid Nazrul Islam, Mansoor Ali, and Kamruz Zaman. After installing Khankar Mushtaq Ahmad as president, Major Abdur Rashid and Major Farooq, they were still worried that there can be a counter coup, because they planned and they plotted a coup against the government. In the same way, someone else can do against Mushtaq. So it was their concern, and they knew it that it can happen. But in case there is a counter coup from a pro Awami League or pro Sheikh Mujib group, in that case, if they remove Khankar Mushtaq Ahmad, or if Khankar Mushtaq Ahmad get killed, there are 4 leaders of Awami League which were put in the jail. So definitely one of them would be their choice, to bring one of them in the government to take charge. So now Major Farooq and Major Abdur Rashid made another plan. Their plan was that in case, if there is a counter coup, and President Mushtaq get killed somehow, then those four leaders of Awami League which are in the jail, they must be killed. So for this thing, they made a team of few soldiers, and it was conditional with a counter coup. They were given the instructions that in case if there is any counter coup, that team had to go to the central jail immediately, and they have to eliminate those four leaders of Awami League. So in a way, they designed a team to operate automatically whenever there is a counter coup, and it happened in the form of a counter coup which was conducted by Khalid Musharraf, and we'll talk about it later.